I got to introduce Mark Cuban at an event like 12 years ago at an event in Vegas. And I walked up to him, I said, Mr. Cuban, I'm here to introduce you. And he said, Jim, I have 2 words of advice for you. And I said, oh, really? What's that? He said, be quick. And he smiled, and I introduced him, and I was quick. So I will be quick today to get the show started. So, look, everybody starts at 0, okay? And I'm going to tell you a little story here that I actually wrote, which is the beginning of the new book that I'm writing right now. And the story goes something like this. Up until 1954, there wasn't a human being on this planet who had broken the 4-minute mile mark, okay? It couldn't be done. The experts said it was impossible. Nobody could break the 4-minute mile mark. They said that the human body could not possibly run that fast, that it would break down, that you would collapse, that you would die. Every expert in the world said it couldn't be done. But a man by the name of Roger Bannister did that in 1954. He was the first human being to break the 4-minute mile mark. And he became a world record holder. But what's interesting about this story is not really that he broke the record. It's interesting how he did it and then what happened after. So I'm going to tell you that story really quickly. So Robert had been a runner his whole life. He's been passionate about running. He trained his whole life. Sound familiar? He loved what he did. He earned his way into Oxford University, where he ran for the Olympics in 1952. And he trained like he'd never trained before. But during the Olympics in the 1600 meter, which is the mile, he came in a disappointing 4th place. 4th place in the Olympics. Very difficult. So for 2 months, Roger had a pity party. And he sat and he said, do I ever want to run again? Is it even possible that the dream that I have of breaking this 4-minute mile and running and being a world record holder, is it even possible? So after 2 months, he decided that it was possible. And he got back on training, he trained, and he started to run again. And he had a rival, an Australian named Landry, who was pushing him. It was a person that he saw was also trying to beat the mile. So, 1954, Roger woke up, and it was the day of a race. And every expert in the world said that if the record could ever be broken, it was going to be on a day at this specific temperature where it was warm, there was going to be no wind, there was going to be no rain, it was going to be on a specific track. And there was going to be 100,000 people cheering you on because you needed that motivation to be successful. When Roger woke up that morning, he looked out the window, it was raining. It was cold. The track wasn't right that he was running on that day. And what was the other thing? The wind. It was windy, okay? And he went to his job at the medical place. He was getting a degree for medicine. And that whole morning, he kept looking out the window and going, should I run? I wonder if I should run today. And then he got wind that his rival, Landry, the guy who he'd been pushing and competing with, decided not to run that day. Because Landry said, the conditions aren't ideal. I'm just not going to bother to run today. So at the very last minute on May 6, 1954, Bannister decided to run. And he got to the race, and there were only 5 other runners in the race. And as he got into the end of the third lap, he came in at a time of 3 minutes and 1 second. So he had 1 lap to go, do the bad math like we like to do. He had 59 seconds to get around the track once and break the world record. As he went into the first straightaway, he was 2 paces behind the other runner. As he came around the first turn, he had closed on him. And in the final 400 meters, he pushed it into the next gear. He realized this was his chance, and he went across the finish line and collapsed in a pile on the track. 30 seconds later, the PA announcement came over and said that Roger Bannister had actually broken the world record and the first human being in existence to win or to run the mile in less than 4 minutes with a time of 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. Now here's where it gets really interesting. 46 days after Bannister broke the world record, Landry did it. And then in the years that followed, after a record that hadn't been touched in 20, 30 years, no one had gotten close to even a 4.01. Several more people did it. So the question is, why? And the answer is, you start to become successful in your business, your life, and your career when you start believing that the impossible is possible. Everybody starts at zero. Everybody in this room, Chris Fox started at zero at some point. T.W. Piper Brooks started at zero at some point. 0 words written, 0 books put together, 0 box sets, 0 marketing, 0 AMS ads. Every single person in here. Do not quit. The reason I know you won't, and the reason I know that you're going to be successful is because you're here. And take this opportunity to learn from the people in this room today, in these next 2 days, and use them to push you to be more successful, because everyone started at that same point. And I think what's going to happen as you learn from these experts up on the stage this weekend and you talk to people is you're going to realize, what you probably already do, but maybe you just needed that extra push, that the impossible is actually possible. And that's what I want you to take away this weekend. Thank you so much. Let's get the show going.